Mission Cross is the newest action comedy movie that was just released onto Netflix. And when I first read the synopsis of this film, I was actually, thinking, oh, this is going to be maybe a, steady, basic film, because the plot line is something I've heard and seen before in a bunch of other Hollywood films. But honestly, I did not expect it to be as good as a movie as it was. This movie is essentially a South Korean version of Mr. and Mrs. Smith or True Lies, whichever one you like to see it based off when you see the film. But it follows this couple. One is a stay-at-home husband who basically just cooks and cleans for his wife, and he's more than happy to do that, while his wife actually works as a police captain, and she's well renowned. Little does she know that her husband actually used to be a special forces operative, and he's basically left that whole past behind to now for working, along with being the stay-at-home husband that he is, he also works part-time as a school bus driver. And I mean, of course, the keeping secrets from, your spouse or your husband, I mean, that's essentially, a story that we've heard before in Hollywood. The husband gets dragged back into his former life when he meets an old associate of his who is also a special forces operative as well, and still is, and asks for his help. And when he gets dragged back into this life, he tries to keep it a secret from his wife. But his wife starts noticing unsuspecting behavior, and she starts thinking that he's doing, unsettling things. Because his friend is also a woman, so she thinks she's having she jumps to conclusions thanks to her dumbass, fellow police officers. She thinks that her husband is having an affair. And that's where the movie actually got really interesting to me. The gags and laughs in this movie are really quite hysterical, in my opinion. I mean, the wife, she is the main star of this movie, in my opinion, because it's mainly focusing on her following her husband in the first act of the movie, and the whole time it's so unbelievably funny. She's tasing people with these taser knuckles. She is bugging his phone. She is using a drone to spy on him. She goes the whole 9 yards. She doesn't just stalk him. She goes full-on obsession stalk here, and it's really funny. It's hilarious because she's way off with what is going on here. And then after that, moving into the second act, it goes straight into a lot of more action and kind of still keeps the comedy vibe there, but the well-executed action on top with the mixture of comedy, it really works so well together. And I mean, of course, like I said, this is a story that we've seen before, but unlike these other movies that I've seen in Hollywood, like True Lies and Mr. and Mrs. Smith, that played a more serious vibe, this one took a more comedic approach, like a buddy comedy, and I really liked that approach, because, I mean, it was nice to actually get this kind of, hidden past, adding laughs, and also, also balancing it out with good action together. So, I mean, I liked the concept. The script was well written for this movie, in my opinion, because, I mean, when I was watching it, the dialogue, when it goes between a bunch of the characters, it's obvious it looks like they're just having fun. They're not just trying to force jokes or, try to make the action too serious. They're just having fun with it. This movie was obviously a movie that was directed just for the actors to have fun and let their hair down, but it turned out a lot better than what they were probably expecting. It really feels bad, though, that this movie didn't actually get a big screen reveal and instead went straight to streaming service, because I feel like this movie could have actually done really well in theaters. But I guess I can understand why this movie didn't hit theaters, because the comedy itself is more on hijinks and silliness. So maybe not a lot of people would probably be into that kind of, comedy. But I mean, I think it works really well together. But I mean, I guess not everyone is into that kind of comedy. If you're not into hijinks and silliness, it may feel like that is overused a lot in this movie, and you may not be a fan of it, but I still think it's something that's worth giving a shot. Overall, I'm going to give Mission Cross an A here. This is probably one of Netflix's best films of 2024, in my opinion. Alright, well that just about wraps up this review. If you guys have seen Mission Cross on Netflix, please comment here down below what your thoughts were on this movie. Also, if you like my other videos, you can check out here more on my channel. And always remember to stay epic